a wonderful, wonderful birthday today. I know that mommy has a beautiful day lined up for you today, and we do hope that you can enjoy it to the most today. And I want to say auntie loves you very much. Everybody loves you, granny, papi, everybody wants to say happy birthday to our dear Nayeli today. So happy birthday to you, Nayeli, from all of us at the Combi household this morning. Next up is Dunstan Leslie. Dunstan Leslie is also celebrating a birthday today, and Dunstan, we celebrate with you today. We say happy birthday to you. We pray God's blessings upon your life, and we do hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful birthday today. Also, we want to say happy birthday to Ken Jones. Ken Jones is celebrating a birthday, well, a belated birthday actually, and we do pray God's blessings upon your life, and we do hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful birthday to season rather, Mr. Ken Jones. We pray God's blessings upon your life. Kelda Cornwall is also celebrating a birthday, and Kelda, we pray God's blessings upon your life, and we do hope that you have a wonderful, wonderful birthday today. We say God bless you and happy birthday. And finally, on our birthday rundown, we say happy birthday Christopher. Renee Christopher is also having a birthday today, and we say happy birthday to you, Renee, and we do pray God's blessings upon your life today. We pray that you have a wonderful, wonderful birthday season today. And for those of you who are celebrating a birthday, an anniversary, a promotion, or even a retirement, we join in the celebrations with you this morning, and we remind you to put God first and to include Him in your celebrations, because He is the reason. Trust and believe that He is the reason you have something to celebrate today. And I know we've switched things up a little bit this morning, but guess what? We're going to head on over now to our news in 90 seconds. After years of closure due to the missing and damaged equipment, the Shore Park Packing House has reopened thanks to TADCO staff who cleaned and repainted the facility. Chairman Ricardo Alfred highlighted past budget constraints, but this year's focus allowed the reopening. The facility now supports agro-processors with specialized equipment, quality control and processing services, offering tools like crinkle cut fry machines and multifunctional cutters. Ronaldo John, entrepreneur and owner of Rashad's Men's Store and the Healing Garden, has added author to his achievements with the launch of his new book, Bago Boy, at the Scarborough Library. The book shares the inspiring journey of a young Tobagonian's entrepreneurial success and aims to promote Tobago's culture and entrepreneurial spirit as a key tourism product. As part of the launch, John introduced the Bago Youth Foundation, dedicated to empowering young minds. Proceeds from the book will support the foundation, and John expressed gratitude to Tobagonians for their support in making this book a success. And finally, members of the People's National Movement have condemned Chief Secretary Fali Augustine for a recent statement seemingly towards Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley. Following the failure of the Tobago Autonomy bills in Parliament on Monday, Augustine took to his Facebook page stating, "Nothing is worse than when your relative who is in the seat of power is nothing but a house slave that ignores the real dreams and aspirations of those who he left behind in the field in Tobago." Hashtag house slave mentality, hashtag wicked PM. PNM Senator Lawrence Hislop, Minority Leader Kelvon Morris, and Minority Councillor Petalan Benoit, and National Security Minister Fitzgerald Hines are among those who have labelled the statement disrespectful. The Prime Minister has not commented on the matter. And that was your news in 90 seconds. Of course, we are going to have discussions this morning right here in studio. As you are aware, the Bill of Autonomy for the island of Tobago is still a relevant conversation, knowing that the vote took place there in the Parliament on Monday, and the outcome, we are going to go through the paces this morning. We're going to have the conversation, and we do hope that you can stay with us throughout the entire discussion, because of course it is very important for all of us here on the island of Tobago to understand what it means that the bills were not passed, and also what it means for us here in the Tobago space. Where do we go from here is our next question, and we want to have those conversations this morning. Who are we speaking with on this matter this morning? Well, no other person more fitting than the Chief Secretary himself, the Honorable Farley Chavez Augustine, will be in studio with us this morning to go through the conversation this morning as you get his view, ball by ball on what has transpired, what is next, where do we go from here, and what does it mean for us here on the island of Tobago. You want to be a part of this discussion, so we're hoping that you can join us, whether it is on our Facebook live stream or on our YouTube channel. Leave your comments, be a part of the conversation so we know what you think, what you feel, and where you are where this conversation is concerned. In the meantime, though, we do have to go for a really short break before we begin conversations this morning. We do hope you could stick around and ensure you call all your friends, all your family, your neighbors, everybody who resides in Tobago, has business in Tobago, or even in the diaspora. Let them be a part of this very, very important and relevant conversation. So here's what you're going to do in the meantime while we prepare for that said conversation. Help us to share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.
Share your views on the placement of statues, monuments, and signage in Trinidad and Tobago. The Office of the Prime Minister, through a cabinet-appointed committee, invites the public to share their views on the removal or retention of specific statues, monuments, and signage in public spaces, and suggestions for new statues, monuments, and signage in public spaces. The Tobago public consultation will be held on Wednesday, 11th December 2024 from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Scarborough Library Facility Audiovisual Room. Written submissions are also being accepted via email, hard copy, or through an online form. For more information, visit the committee's social media pages. All submissions will be considered, so it's time for you to have your say.
Are you thinking about spending Christmas in Tobago? Well, call us at Thorns Place. We are located at the hills of Scarborough, 5 minutes away from the port, with rooms starting at 200 TT. Call us now at 745-7306 or 682-8676. Follow us on Facebook. Check us out on Instagram. Message us on WhatsApp at Thorns Place. Your Christmas in Tobago will be even more special.
It's the season of unforgettable, magical moments together. A song that reminds us of how our love blossomed. The warm, comforting smell of Christmas Day that brings us together. That feeling of comfort when our loved ones see the magic happening before their eyes. This Christmas, believe in magic, only at Standard.
Unwrap the magic of Christmas and have the best Christmas ever with a Christmas Wishes loan from Bethel Credit Union.
Up to $20,000 can be yours, so you can take care of all those Christmas expenses. You could even pay off all your debts and your credit card.
Come on down to where we make wishes come through, because we see you
at BCU.
Visit any of our offices today at 31 Bethlehem Road, Bethel, Tobago, or Mount Mary Lower, Scarborough, Tobago.
You can contact us at 639-8226-660-7358 or 631-1336.
Normal lending criteria apply. Think, plan, save with Bethel Credit Union. Because we see you at BCU. We see you at BCU. Come on down, get a loan or two, cause we see you this Christmas at BCU.
Want to get better? Where to start? What kind of exercise to do? What to eat? How to get restful sleep? Need a doctor to search for root cause? Look no further. Come to Majuba Hill Lifestyle Center Foundation at our Wellness Center in Goodwood, or Food Hub in Darrow Springs, Scarborough, or Doctor's Office in Goodwood and Darrow Spring. Contact 49 Swift 4979438.
for the most magical event of the season. The Tobago Gospel Promoters proudly presents Christmas Village. Christmas Village. Everything Christmas at the Scarborough Esplanade, Tobago. From the 18th to the 21st of December, 1 p.m. to 10 p.m. daily. 4 nights of live entertainment. Los Cantantes de Jesus. And from Tobago, El Corazon de Parang, Blessed Messenger, Janex, Bijon Pier, choirs, steel bands, and dance from across Tobago, and our featured drama production. It's a Christmas production you don't want to miss. From toys to curtains, wines, ginger bear, cake, and a kid zone. 4 days of everything Christmas. For all interested vendors, please contact 392-4060. And for general information on Christmas Village, 786-8736.
We coming together, me and my family, meeting together, me and my family.
I love Tobago because it has beautiful flora and fauna, biodiversity, beautiful scenery, beautiful villages and cultures.
Because the people are nice. My name is Zuma Chapman.
My name is Zaid Uwe. My name is Rebecca Week.
My name is Mohammed Udin.
Kiara Stewart.
Kaylee Burnett.
Jolie St. John.
Ochi Emmanuel.
Jill Young. Johanna Brown.
Sarah Judah Spinney.
I love Tobago.
And I love Tobago.
What I love about Tobago,
I love Tobago because of its tradition,
because of the culture, the people, the history, the island itself.
I love Tobago for its beautiful beaches,
the beaches.
The beaches.
I love Tobago because of the hospitality of the people. Wherever you go on the island, someone's going to be there to greet you with a smile. They'll be going to assist you. They're so friendly, so helpful.
it's local food,
Great food.
The variety of local foods.
its delicious food and
activities that it has.
boat and crab racing.
And I truly love Tobago because of its diverse culture and the immense amount of activities one can do when they come to Tobago, such as carnival, going to the beaches, and heritage.
And also the Blue Food Festival.
What it holds, all down to the very provision and food. It is just amazing. And I love the fact that I was born on this island.
Crab and dumpling, and my favorite one of all, crab and callaloo.
Because of its smooth texture on the dumpling and the sweet spicy taste on the crab.
Overall, it's really tropical. It's a nice place, and for somebody who loves beaches like me, I love to go to the beach within 2 minutes away from home. Whereas Trinidad, it's, it's so far to go to the beach.
Our culture, our hospitality, our heritage, I think that we're one of the most friendliest types of people that you can meet. Someone is always there to greet you with a smile, a plate of food for like harvest and everything. So I think it's just that, and I really love this great little island.
It's a really fun place where you will enjoy your stay.
Tobago is known for being multicultural.
Although we are a geographically small destination, we leave such a large impact on the world because we harness so much talent and have such a diverse culture. The people that we produce on the island leave traces of Tobago wherever they go.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, and welcome back to the morning show.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for sticking around with us this morning. As you are aware, we are speaking this morning with the Chief Secretary, Honorable Farley Chavez Augustine, and we continue the conversation, the relevant and important conversation about autonomy for Tobago. As we are aware, Chanel, just on Monday, the bills went before the cabinet, it went before the parliament on Monday, and we are at the stage now where it wasn't passed. And so we're going to have the conversation this morning.
Right.
What is next? You know, I want Tobagonians to understand, I'm not sure that everybody kind of understands what was the content of the bills, what was in the bills, what are the things that were presented or proposed for amendments, what was discussed on Monday, and where we are now. And you know, so those are some of the things we have to talk about this morning.
Right. I mean, before we even get into this morning's discussion, I just want to say a special good morning to each and every person watching. I have to remember not to say welcome to GMT because, you know, I am your GMT host.
That's right.
And you know, whenever you see me sitting here, it's because we're about to have the conversations that you want to have while we ask the questions that you want asked. I also want to say a special good morning to that guy yesterday evening. I think he was from Country Style Bakery. He said to me, Tobago Updates does you no justice. You are so beautiful in person. So I had to tell him a special good morning to you. But Adana, even as we get into the conversation this morning, we talk about how important this entire autonomy bill situation is. And I want to be very honest and transparent. When that bill, the Tobago autonomy bill, the constitutional reform bill, came before the parliament and it wasn't passed, I felt somewhat of a somber, sad mood when it was not passed, honestly. Because I felt like all this work, all this conversation, everything that has been put in, where are we now? After so much work, that's how I felt. And I felt like the inevitable, meaning that even though we do not want to see a generation come again and still have to discuss
the same fight
autonomy issue, that might be what we move.
And that is my challenge too, because I mean, yes, it's sombering that it did not pass. Although the proposals went forward in terms of the amendments, and you know, how long is it going to take for this conversation to become this relevant again? We've been talking about this since however long, generations upon generations have been talking about this, and we got to a stage where we're thinking, okay, we have hope, there's hope, right? And I know that there are different opinions in the public space. Some people might be okay that it did not pass because there are things that they would have wanted to include in it. Some people are, oh, I wish it passed, at least we got to this stage and then we could go back again and include the things that we were hoping to have in the discussion as well. So, you know, really, as you said, it really is sombering. And you're sitting here and you're thinking, oh, man, where do we go? I mean, just yesterday, I think, not yesterday, Monday, you heard in the press conference from the chief secretary, he was saying that he's going to make it his duty to ensure that the things that, you know, we kind of want to see happens, and he does not want his daughter, his own daughter, which is another generation, to be fighting for the same things that we've been fighting for since before you and I were born, Chanel.
Correct. And it's so interesting, the amendments that were put forward, because for me personally, when the chief gets here, I want to ask him, you know, long time they used to say, sometime if you fail to prepare to fail. And did we fail to prepare in that amendments for this important bill, for such a momentous occasion in Tobago's history, was brought the morning of the bill being brought before the parliament? Did we fail to prepare in that way?
And that's the thing, because I mean, it's been in the public space for a pretty long time, and especially in the past couple of months in the Tobago space, right? It has been in the space, and we've been talking about amendments, because we know the two bills were there. We were not satisfied with the bills as they were, and of course you want to make amendments. So where is the content for the amendment in terms of ensuring that these things are done? And I understand your question, and it's a question too that I would have, and the Tobago public will have as well. And I listened also to the press conference again, and there was the Q&A section where media personnel asked the very same question. How is it that the amendments only went down the morning of? Is it that we did not prepare? Very same question you're asking now. And his response was, we've been talking about this for months. We've been deliberating on it for months. And because the announcement was on Thursday, that is when they put in the time to tweak whatever had to be tweaked to have it done as well.
But even before we go to the break, to have the conversation, Adana, let's be real. Old people say, get Jackie jacket and get Jim boots. This conversation has been in the space since the death of Ho Choi Charles, when the Prime Minister hinted to the fact that the bill will come before the Parliament before the end of the year. And we as media personnel, we have a duty to hold these individuals accountable in high office, because this administration did campaign on the fact that they would bring home the Tobago Autonomy Bill. And now we are hearing that due to the fact that it was not passed at the parliamentary level, we now have to look to international organizations to bring home that level of autonomy. So would Tobago truly see autonomy from this administration? These are many other questions we're going to be asking the Chief Secretary when he gets here.
Yeah, definitely, because I mean, at the end of the day, we want to know, where do we go? The most important question is, where do we go from here? Did you drop the ball? Where is the ball now? And where do we go from here? Ladies and gentlemen, we have to go for a short break before we continue conversations this morning. And when we come back, of course, we'll be speaking with our Chief Secretary, the Honorable Farley Chavez Augustine. In the meantime, please help us to share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.
Share your views on the placement of statues, monuments, and signage in Trinidad and Tobago. The Office of the Prime Minister, through a cabinet-appointed committee, invites the public to share their views on the removal or retention of specific statues, monuments, and signage in public spaces, and suggestions for new statues, monuments, and signage in public spaces. The Tobago public consultation will be held on Wednesday, 11th December 2024 from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Scarborough Library Facility Audio-Visual Room. Written submissions are also being accepted via email, hard copy, or through an online form. For more information, visit the committee's social media pages. All submissions will be considered, so it's time for you to have your say.
Please be advised that the date and venue for the Tobago Day Thanksgiving service have been changed to Thursday, December 19th at the Shaw Park Complex. Start time 9 a.m. Come give thanks with us as we continue our Tobago Day celebration.
This Christmas, believe in magic. Enjoy our electrifying deals on electronics that'll have you dancing. Only at Standard.
When the game is on, you don't want to miss the best moments. With Amplia TV, you can enjoy our ultimate sports package and watch your favorite games on the go. Stay connected and informed with sports news, scores, and stats with Amplia's fastest internet speeds. Up to 1 gigabyte fiber internet, you can stream riveting football action, cricket, NBA games, and much more. With Amplia, it's game on. Visit amplia.co.tt or call 800-4663. Amplia. Do more, live more.
moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. You see, I tell you,
this is the morning show. This is the morning show.
This morning, I am joining Adana for the morning show. You all know I am your GMT host. And this morning we have a special episode because we are chatting with the Chief Secretary on that Tobago Autonomy bill. And now we know that that was not passed on Monday, and that was quite a sombering moment for many persons because, as Adana said in the preamble, where do we go from here?
That's right.
That part of the conversation.
That's right. Because, I mean, we've been having this conversation from time immemorial. And as I mentioned, if you listen to the press conferences that the Chief Secretary held before and even after, he spoke about the persons that went ahead fighting for the same very thing that we had the opportunity to have passed on Monday. And here we are again. How relevant is this conversation going to be? Is it going to stay in the space 5, 10, 15, 20 more years? Do we have to keep fighting? But the good thing about it is that we have the Chief Secretary in studio with us this morning, and he is here to have the conversation, to answer the questions that you want to know the answers to, and of course, to take the discourse even further as to where do we go from here? Where are we now, in fact? And how do we move forward in terms of ensuring the autonomy for Tobago in the way that we want it to be, our space in Tobago to be defined, and for us as people of Tobago to be known internationally, and to have our rights as humans, as people of the Tobago space. Chanel, before we went to break, you asked.
I asked, did we fail to prepare? In that these amendments were made public on the morning of the bill going to Parliament. You know, for many of us, we saw this aid memoir going out, and it made us wonder, why wasn't this in the public space sometime before? So, you know, we're going to ask the Chief Secretary all of these things and get some responses, because as Tobagonians, this has been something at the top of the agenda for a long time. So where are we? And why haven't we been singing these songs a long time before to give us the proper leverage that we need in order to have had these amendments added to the bill?
So welcome, Chief Sec. Welcome this morning to our studio. And of course, we're starting hitting hard, right? And of course, we know that you are able to provide the answer. So let's get straight into the conversation this morning, you know?
Well, good morning to you. Good morning to Tobago. And thank you for having me this morning. Merry Christmas to everyone. Tobago has been at this for a very long time. And Tobagonians, I believe, have been prepared, have been clamoring, have been asking for the same things for donkey years. As a matter of fact, long before the aid memoir, much earlier this year, at the start of this year, I sent through the clerk of the parliament in Trinidad. And I know that was a fact because they were hand-delivered to the Red House. Hard copies for every single member of parliament that detailed what were in the current bills versus what was sent down to parliament by Mr. Orville London versus the things that Tobagonians have consistently said they wanted. So this has been a conversation happening for a long time. The bills, the signal that it will go before Parliament only happened on Thursday last week. As a matter of fact, if we go before this year in 2021, when there was a pause primarily because of two reasons. On one hand, Mr. Hoche Charles and myself, we said, look, these are some areas to be considered that you missed based on what Tobagonians said they wanted from the consultations. Come back to Tobagonians and talk to Tobagonians. There was a minority report coming out of the Joint Select Committee in 2021 that said that there wasn't sufficient consultations with the people of Tobago. Remember, it's the Parliament passing this. That Joint Select Committee between 2021 and now should have returned to Tobago to talk to rank and file everyday Tobagonians. That never happened. So because that never happened, I instituted a team that was led by Mr. Hoche Charles. And before he died, the last task he did as chair of that advisory council with himself, Ingrid Melville and Alan Richards, was to provide a broad matrix That is what I sent to all parliamentarians very early in this year. So when we realized that they were just going to debate the bill within 4 days, well, less than 4 days, if it was placed on the order paper on Thursday, we sought to just come together again and say, look, let's make a last-ditch effort to communicate again. Because at the end of the day, from where we sit in Tobago, we don't have a voice in the parliament. Our 2 members of parliament are a waste of time in the parliament. They don't vocalize what the Tobagonians want. And so in an effort to have consideration given, and bear in mind that we really and truly have no legal right to make any amendments to the parliament. It doesn't even have to be considered because we are not elected members of the House of Representatives. But notwithstanding, I communicated with both the Prime Minister and the opposition leader using the fastest possible method. And I know some people ask, well, why use WhatsApp? Well, the Prime Minister has WhatsApped me important information before. And this is 2024. This is not 1800s. The modes of communication have changed. And if there are methods that allow for us to communicate much faster, then why not use those methods? But what is a travesty, I think, in all of this is the general approach of the Parliament and parliamentarians. You know, I want Tobagonians to understand, and I'm a student of history, a very good student of history. And what most people probably don't know is that at sixth form Cambridge level, I was a top performing Tobago student in history. So I don't play about the historical facts. When Tobago was placed with Trinidad, 1888, 1889, the charter passed in 1888, signed off by Queen Victoria, I believe. 1889, it came into effect. Tobago did not have a say. We had the colonial masters in Westminster just sat in London and decide, we putting you with Trinidad, whether you agree or not, this is what we're doing for you. You have no say. So when we fast track to 2024, and the Parliament adopts a position that says, I don't care what you think. I don't care how you feel. This is what I am doing. You better take it or leave it. It is abominable because now it's a neo-colonial approach. And what is sad is that it's not some white-faced Londoner who is making that decision, but it's a black-faced Trinbagonian a cabinet led by a Tobagonian birthed person. And as far as I'm concerned, that is a huge sellout of the Tobago ideal and a disregard for how Tobagonians feel.
Okay, so 2 things.
Yes.
The correspondence that you sent in the beginning, you said it hand-delivered.
So,
right?
So we hand-deliver them to the clerk of the House to deliver them to all the members of the Parliament.
And these were the recommendations for
what we did is that we created a matrix. We looked at all the different iterations of bills and what was sent down to Trinidad over the years. And then we pull out and say, look, these are the constant. These clearly are the non-negotiables. These are the things you ought to consider in making those amendments. I also want you to bear in mind that I have consistently said, unlike some of my other political colleagues, and even someone in my political team who have said outright, no, reject them. Let's be real. Earlier this year, when the committee that was set up by the Prime Minister, the Constitutional Committee, came to Tobago, post that, I saw a news report where Dr. Angus said no, reject the bills outright, where Dr. Vanna said no, what that Constitutional Committee is proposing contravenes the principle of democracy. I have been consistent in saying, don't throw away the process. Don't throw away what you have. Don't just say no. Let's amend what's there. And so in an effort to save the process, earlier this year, I went to the Parliament with my security, with big boxes, with documents in envelopes labeled for every member of Parliament and delivered them. How I know it was delivered? Because Independent Senator Dr. Remy Dillon met me afterwards and she said she received her package. So I know the clerk did the job of disseminating these packages to every member, because I wanted every member of Parliament to look at the thing objectively and come up with those come up with those amendments. I wasn't necessarily planning to make the amendments myself, because that's the job of the parliamentarians. And so when it came up that they were going to put this debate over a short period of time, I said, look, just in case they didn't consider anything at all that was said over the last 3 years, just in case they didn't consider anything that was sent to the parliament over the last 3 years, let's do this and send it through to the parliament. And that's what that was. But not only that, if you go back to about 2018, when the Prime Minister set this thing in motion and he spoke to the parliament, the Prime Minister was clear that coming out of Tobago, there were 4 practical non-negotiables. Look for it. It was a statement read onto the Hansard records by the Prime Minister. And those 4 things the Prime Minister identified were: 1, equality of status between the 2 islands. And I am insisting that must be in the Constitution, not in a Tobago Island government bill that can be removed with a simple majority. 2, that there be a federal type system, not federation. I see the minority trying to say that I've asked for federation. No, the Prime Minister said a federal type system, because what Tobagonians have said they want and the kinds of powers that Tobagonians are seeking, what we will invariably end up with is a federal type system if that is to be granted. A third thing that Tobagonians ask for is that we are able to manage, to control, to have authority over all matters governing the lives of Tobagonians on the island of Tobago and within the space that is called Tobago, including our marine space. And that brings me to the 4th area identified by the Prime Minister, which is that there must be clear definition and delineation of the boundaries and the allowing for jurisdiction within those boundaries. And so if those 4 things that the Prime Minister himself correctly identified in his statement to the House when he set this in motion by putting a JSC to work did not find their way in the final bills, it means that there was a massive disconnect, and it's not just a disconnect, there was a deliberate attempt to actually ignore the desires, the will of the people of Tobago, and that is abominable.
Right, and honestly, Chief, during your campaign, a major part of what your administration campaigned on was bringing home the Tobago Autonomy Bill. And we know that you had a very hectic portfolio to manage, in that you were the Secretary for Finance as well as Chief Secretary. But when persons saw that you gave up the finance portfolio as the Secretary for Finance, and in that when you came into office, you indicated that under the office of the Deputy Chief Secretary,
yes,
that office would be the office responsible for going to Trinidad, developing the Tobago House, and even fighting the fight for autonomy. So it was then expected that as you took on the portfolio of being the chief only, that the Tobago Autonomy agenda would be...
When did that happen?
Very recently, this year, just a short...
As a matter of fact, I was Secretary of Finance up until June. I read the budget in June, passed the budget in June, and it was only after the House returned from recess in September that change happened. So you are correct. And I will be first to admit that we had a Deputy Chief Secretary who had that as a standalone portfolio, and when he should have been advocating for that, we're seeing videos with him cock up in bed in jockey shorts instead of doing the people work that was supposed to be done. So yes, that definitely led to some delays, and that did not allow for the delivery of the program as it should have. And that's why sometimes when you see people trying to have the most to say about this right to self-determination, you should ask them what they did when they were given an opportunity to lead and to do so. But here we are now, and there's a lot of blame to be passed all over. But here's the thing that I want us to remember. Tobagonians have been very consistent in saying what they want out of these bills. And that therein lies the question. It is known. It's not known. What level of consultation has taken place after the 2021 when the JSC was in Tobago? And that's why I made the point the JSC, when the bill was paused, it was one of the reasons why it was paused is because the JSC needed to come back to Tobago to have wider consultations. Has the JSC ever returned to Tobago since? Did the JSC even meet since 2021? And the answer is no, it did not happen. And so the Parliament clearly did not see Tobago needs, and that is why I'm insistent that it is a neo-colonial approach that is being used. That's why I'm insistent that the approach that is being used is one that says, look, I know you want these things, but I don't care about what you want. This is what I want to give you, so you better accept this, and maybe sometime down the road we might get something more. That is the approach. And that cannot be the approach in a democracy.
You know, you talk about the documents. I want to follow up on the question I asked before, the documents that you submitted, and ensure that all persons got a copy of it. Through the clerk of the House. Right. And there's a confirmation that everybody got a copy of this. Was there any type of follow-up in terms of communication? Listen, I received this, or listen, I sent this to you. Where are we going from here? Let's have a conversation outside of the JSC and any other committee.
That one single member of Parliament did a follow-up. That one person who did that follow-up is Dr. Remy Dillon. And that follow-up went to the extent that Dr. Remy Dillon came, sat with the advisory council, with the same Mr. Charles, Alan Richards, Ingrid Melville, went through where we were at. The only one that came is Dr. Remy Dillon. And that's why when I lay blame at the Parliament, I'm laying blame across the floor, you know. Yes, I think there's a greater burden of blame to be placed on the government whose job it was to do this in a way in keeping what Tobagonians wanted, primarily because the head of the cabinet is supposed to be Tobagonian. But really and truly, if you look at it across the board, I don't know that the Parliament of Trinidad and Tobago has ever honored what Tobagonians wanted. We were here in 2012, then Prime Minister and the People's Partnership, Mrs. Prasad Bissessa, brought bills. And at that time, the Tobago House of Assembly encouraged the opposition to reject those bills. Why? Because of the same reason. Because the Parliament just keep refusing to accede to the democratic wishes of the people of Tobago. And that is why I am very comfortable, very, very comfortable making a reference point, creating parallels with how the colonial government in Westminster operates and how the Parliament operates. Because it cannot be that Tobagonians since 1977 have been saying the same things consistently. And here we are in 2024, and the Parliament is behaving as though, well, we don't know what they want. Tobagonians don't tell me what they want. That is untrue. Let's not give them a pass. What Robinson brought is no different from what Tobagonians said they wanted, why they rejected Kamala's 2012 bills, and why these from Dr. Rowley today are also rejected. Tobago have been consistent during the period, and the Parliament just keep pleading the fifth as they just don't know what Tobago want. And that's untrue.
But Chief, is it safe to say that only Thursday the bill was brought up to be brought before the Parliament on the order paper? Because from the parliamentarians that I've spoken to,
I'm telling you, it was placed
they said that it has been on the order paper for all year.
Listen, the process was saved. Before every debate, an order paper is produced for the upcoming debate. It was only placed on the order paper on Thursday for debate on Monday. We did not know a month ago they were going to debate it on Monday. We did not know 2 months ago that they were going to debate it on Monday. That was only known on Thursday last week, that they were going to debate it or go through the committee phase on Monday. That was not known before. A date was not given before. If the Prime Minister and the Cabinet wanted broad involvement and conversation, they could have said, okay, we are going to come in December on such and such date. This is our legislative agenda, and we are going to take it to the committee stage on that date. That was not done.
In terms of getting things on the order paper, what is the procedure? Is there a specific time span or time limit? Where is it normal to say, well, on Thursday, this is what's going to be happening Monday? Or is it like a week or 2 weeks? How do you know?
So for debates, we have to submit to the clerk of the House. That's our process in THA. We submit to the clerk of the House. We have to submit to the clerk of the House within a stipulated period before.
And what is the period?
We have to submit, let me see if I can remember clearly. We have to submit at least a working week before, right? And more than that, we also, the clerk will then issue that no less than 4 working days. So there's no way, for example, our clerk will issue an order paper Thursday for Monday. We go minimum 4 working days for which the order paper is issued to members. So we will have a debate coming up in the month of December. We have already started communicating with the clerk about the possible days. We will possibly in December have that sitting well in advance of the 4th Thursday, because the 4th Thursday might take us, I think, to Boxing Day, which is a public holiday. It is required by law that we meet at least once per month. So more than likely we will have the sitting before that particular Thursday. So we have already started the communication of the clerk of the House. And the clerk of the House will produce an order paper which will be given to members no less than 4 days in advance of the actual sitting. Except it's a special sitting. And for a special sitting, which I don't think this was, for a special sitting, it will be the Chief Secretary and, of course, the support of no less than, I think, 8 members will mandate that the House sit, and it must be something that is extremely urgent, that requires that special meeting of the House. Usually, it might be a statement or something that just can't wait, that is an emergency. But I'm saying, notwithstanding all of that, the JSC places on pause since 2021. Before the last THA elections, it was placed on pause.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are speaking with the Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly, the Honorable Farley Chavez Augustine. Of course, we're talking about autonomy for Tobago, what transpired on Monday, where we are, and when we come back from the break, we'll be talking about where do we go from here. You want to be a part of the conversation, so ensure that you are following us on our Facebook live stream, on our YouTube channel, and on Amplia 102. Leave your comments so we know your point of view where this is concerned. We have to go for a short break, and in the meantime, we invite you to help us. Share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.
So guys, there are some new developments in housing in Tobago. So it's goat racing time. This is 116, the show that keeps you in the know with all things Tobago House of Assembly. Each week, 116 delivers a fun and engaging overview of the latest developments, achievements, activities, and events of our dynamic assembly. So join me. Let's dive into the Tobago House of Assembly's Week in Review right here on 116.
Share your views on the placement of statues, monuments, and signage in Trinidad and Tobago. The Office of the Prime Minister, through a cabinet-appointed committee, invites the public to share their views on the removal or retention of specific statues, monuments, and signage in public spaces, and suggestions for new statues, monuments, and signage in public spaces. The Tobago public consultation will be held on Wednesday, 11th December 2024 from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Scarborough Library Facility Audiovisual Room. Written submissions are also being accepted via email, hard copy, or through an online form. For more information, visit the committee's social media pages. All submissions will be considered, so it's time for you to have your say.
Please be advised that the date and venue for the Tobago Day Thanksgiving service have been changed to Thursday, December 19th at the Shaw Park Complex. Start time 9 a.m. Come give thanks with us as we continue our Tobago Day celebration.
This Christmas, believe in magic. Enjoy our electrifying deals on electronics that'll have you dancing. Only at Standard.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Welcome back to the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television. This morning is a special edition of the morning show. I know you're used to seeing the youths on Youth Wednesday, and of course, again, we must say thank you to the young people for allowing us this opportunity to run the program this morning. We continue conversations in studio with our Chief Secretary of Tobago House of Assembly, the Honorable Farley Chavez Augustine, and we're talking about autonomy for Tobago. As you are aware, if you reside in Tobago, have business in Tobago, concerns about Tobago, or even in the diaspora, anything relating to Tobago, you will know that discussions about Tobago autonomy is still very, very relevant. And of course, the bill did not pass in Parliament, and we are having the discussions now as to why are we at this point? Where do we go from here? Chief, we've been hearing, of course, the PNM, they are saying that the work is going down the drain. All this work is down the drain because, of course, the bill, the Constitution Amendment was not passed in the Parliament. To say that all the work is going down the drain, does that mean that this is the end? It cannot be that this is the end. Well, where do we go? What does this actually mean?
But this will never be the end. In 1979, when Simongal draft recognized the right to self-determination and PNM rejected it, the work did not end. We continued at it until we got Act 40 of 1996. And as a matter of fact, I'm not sure what all work they're talking about. And one of the things I failed to mention is that the Joint Select Committee never consulted on the Tobago Island Government Bill. They consulted on the Constitutional Amendment Bill. So that which they passed yesterday, they never consulted on that. What was not passed was the one that they actually had some consultation on. And that's why I am insistent that between 2021 and now, when they put a pause on this, the Joint Select Committee of Parliament needed to return to Tobago. At the end of the day, they are the parliamentarians that have to take this and pass this. That's not the job of the THA. That was their job, which they neglected, which they failed, which they refused to do over the last 3 years. And then come last minute and say, look, take it or leave it. The work cannot be done. And as a matter of fact, if you looked at A.N.R. Robinson's speech in 1977, one of the things he said is that the longer the central government takes to accord unto the people of Tobago this right to self-determination, is the more Tobagonians will essentially become radicalized about this position. It will never die. And I have said it, I have a very centrist approach to the matter. But I'm afraid the generation after me will be less patient, less kind, less polite, and certainly will possibly argue for us to just leave the union, that's Trinidad and Tobago. And I'm saying if this generation does not do it, the next generation might essentially destroy the union, that's Trinidad and Tobago. It will not die. I have made the case that if the central government refuses to do what is necessary, insofar as giving the people of Tobago that right to self-determination, which is considered a human right, something that we signed on to as a country, then Tobago is left with no choice than to go to the international community and to lodge a formal complaint against the country and the government of the country that is mistreating a section of its population.
No, that would be very unfortunate if we have to get to that stage.
Tobago will do what it must to get its right to self-determination. It is our right. We don't care about how others feel about that. We have to see about what is our right.
And yes, while you were talking about the generation coming up might be a bit more radical in terms of, one thing came to mind is the Belmana riots. When Tobago people just wasn't sitting there and taking that.
That was actually one of the triggers.
That's right.
That gave the colonial masters in London an excuse to destroy Tobago. And I want you to understand, the colonial masters wanted to destroy this autonomous assembly that existed on the island of Tobago and bring it under crown colony rule, meaning that they wanted from London to direct what happened in Tobago. Prior to 1888, 1889, Tobago was pretty autonomous, having its own systems of governance, including judicial systems and a chief justice and all of those things. And they wanted to destroy that and ensure we become well-behaved colonials. I know Tobagonians by nature, we don't behave well for our colonial masters. And so when the Belmana riots happened, they say, oh, you see, you can't manage your own thing. We have to send for some Barbados to quell the thing. Or you're killing police officer, all kind of thing. Or you can't behave, go and become a ward of Trinidad. And then they say, become a ward of Trinidad and Tobago. And since then, Tobagonians as have been saying, but give us this right to self-determination. As a matter of fact, Tobagonians didn't want to be joined to Trinidad. Trinidadians didn't want us to be joined to Trinidad. Have you ever wondered why, as a country, we never celebrated as a public holiday the joining of Trinidad and Tobago? Have you ever wondered why every year comes and nobody even remembers as a memorial the date that we were joined together as a twin island republic? And that's because the genesis, the historical antecedent of this wasn't one whereby people on either island wanted the coming together. I am of the considered position that we are here now. We have made this journey as an independent country since 1962. And I'm saying that by right, the people of Tobago within the construct that is Trinidad and Tobago, the people of Tobago should have that right to self-determination, which simply means we have a right to decide on the form, the structure, the who that governs the island, because we have considerable needs that are often overlooked in the national conversation. And there's one that I will always call to bear on this conversation. So they passed the Tobago Island Government Bill, and they were seeking, for example, to enshrine into the Constitution as one of the schedule a schedule of areas that we could pass laws over. And when I look through that schedule never considered for a moment the need for Tobago to be able to pass laws to govern the blue economy or its marine space. So while in one of the amendments that they carried on the floor yesterday sought to give some definition of the jurisdiction of Tobago, when you look at what we'll be able to actually pass laws over, one of the areas glaringly absent is that of the marine space. Now, when we go back to 2021, the last thing Mr. Dennis did as Chief Secretary was to bring a bill to send down to Parliament, asking the Parliament to give us some authority so that we could create policy and more or less monitor and police those policies over marine parks in Tobago. That was 2021 November. Guess what? It never made its way on the Parliament floor. And you are telling me you want to now give us this new creature, this Tobago Island government, and we will still need to go down to Trinidad if I want to create a marine park in Speyside so that I could send scientists up there to combat the coral bleaching that's happening there. I will still need to go to Trinidad to get their permission to be able to do that in Tobago. Tell me, under how could that even be conscionable? How could that even be acceptable? And as far as I'm concerned, the PNM minority in Tobago, who is walking about with the most loud mouth, who keeping so-called consultations, they are nothing but sellouts of the Tobago dream, because they really and truly don't believe in Tobagonians having that right to govern themselves. Tell me why a parliament in Trinidad wants to control whether or not we could pass a law over creating a marine park in the Tobago.
I'm glad that you mentioned.
Tell me why. But I know why, because part of it might be the whole conversation about energy, which is also glaringly absent, which means that as an island government, we can't even explore possibilities in where energy is concerned. It means as an island government, if what they wanted to pass was passed, we can't decide, okay, we're going to go out in the Atlantic and put down some windmills and use wind energy, because they think that the way Tobago ought to be governed is that we must always be crawling on our knees to them. But more than that, and I shared a clip on Monday morning, from former Chief Secretary Mr. Orville London, going through why it is so important for us to look at the wide marine space in Tobago, and he made a salient point. Every year we go to the National Parliament making noise about the money question and how much is given to us, but nobody considers for a moment what we actually contribute to the national coffers, and the fact that there are hydrocarbons being extracted from our waters, and so that is going into the national coffers. Nobody counts that. As a matter of fact, in 2021, when the THA election campaign was ongoing, the Prime Minister came up here and said, well, Tobago does only contribute about 250 million in taxes, which is not true. Which, if you consider the full economic space, that's untrue. But that's because they want us to be seen as beggars, always begging from the national coffers and not contributing to the national coffers. And I'm saying you have to empower the Tobagonian to be able to manage its own socio-cultural and economic space. Tobagonians didn't even ask for border patrol to be in charge of Coast Guard. Tobago just asked for internal security within the constructs of the island government. Tobago didn't even say we want to get full control over international relations. Tobago simply says when it's a matter concerning Tobago, we want concurrence. We want to have a conversation. We want to be part of it. Because what has happened in the past, we sitting down in Tobago, our fishermen cussing left, right, and center, saying that it are fishermen from other islands and other territories utilizing and exploiting our resources. And then a prime minister, two different occasions, two different prime ministers, Rongo Barbados, signing whatever they're signing, making arrangements, but nobody even bringing Tobagonians into the conversation.
No, I'm glad that you mentioned that, Chief, because prior to this administration being in office, we know that the THA formally made recommendations for a number of Tobagonians to sit on key state enterprises, state boards. And now we are hearing that with this dispensation, the Minister of Finance is saying to the THA now that that was a courtesy that we did to the THA by allowing them to make recommendations for these state enterprises, and that is not something that would be extended to this administration. Now, I want you to speak to that, but in addition to that, because we are pressed for time, I want to also squeeze the question in there, because you said that the current PNM representatives in the parliament for Tobago are sellouts, but you also made a statement that rub a number of persons the wrong way. You referred to the Prime Minister as being a house slave, and with the history of slavery among our people, you know, especially in the kind of racial and ethnic dynamic that happens in Trinidad and Tobago, a number of persons would have said that that was disrespectful on your part, and it could have come across differently. How do you respond to that?
Let me respond to the two things. The Minister of Finance as corporation sole will only ask the Tobago House of Assembly to submit names to state boards for which there is a law or a statutory requirement for the THA to have a representative. Once that doesn't exist, the courtesy isn't extended. So, for example, the courtesy wasn't extended to us for Caribbean Airlines Board. Very important for the function of Tobago. The courtesy wasn't extended to us for the Central Bank Board. Just another example. So, although they may consider Tobagonians, they don't consider the THA in that regard, and it speaks to how this central government has treated us. I could extend it. CRIF sent money for Tobago for Hurricane Beryl. I still have people cussing me because they need some galvanized, they need retaining walls and so forth. You know what the Minister of Finance did? They refused to send it to Tobago. Although Hurricane Beryl did nothing to Trinidad, they refused to send it to us. ITOF, we trying to negotiate. We are not part of that conversation because they don't see us. And I'm saying, if I have members of parliament representing me, they ought to be saying to the cabinet, you can't go to ITOF and Mr. Alan Stewart from TEMA, not in your team, going to ITOF to make the case, because he was the one who led the cleanup of the oil spill. That is disrespectful to the people of Tobago. That is a disregard for our human right. And let me say this, as a student of history, I understand very well the psychology of a house slave. You see, there were two primary types of slave in a plantation economy. You have those in the master's house and those in the field. Those in the master's house, because they were closer and more intimate with the masters, they felt somehow that they were of a higher class. And so right in the plantation economy, developed a sort of a substrata of a kind of black bourgeoisie that thought, okay, because I eat from the master's table, it comes from the master's table, because they're not eating at the master's table, because I'm in the house, because I get to raise the master's child, because I get to eat from the crumbs at the master's table, somehow I could disregard the plight of those of us left out there in the field. Here we are in 2024, Tobago being perhaps the smallest subsect of the country, that's Trinidad and Tobago by population size, having delivered to this country our second prime minister, perhaps providing more prime ministers per capita than any other section of the country. We have a situation whereby a cabinet adopts a position that I do not care what you want. I am going to treat this matter of Tobago autonomy in the same way, in an identical way to that which the white colonial masters treated with your autonomy. And that is what is abominable, because the children, the descendants of slaves, ought to never repeat the actions of slaves. And one thing about a Tobagonian, more so a Tobagonian from up in the country and Tobago East, is that we speak truth to power. We say what the truth is. Truth is naked. Truth is not always polite. Truth is not always comfortable, but the truth must be said. And I said the truth. End of story. I really could care less who vex, who are hard feelings, whatever. It does not bother me whatsoever. And I'll go further to say, we have a prime minister who is the most abusive with language, and we have a bunch of hypocrites running around who I did not see make a single post when their colleague was in parliament letting go bad word and being obscene left, right and center on microphone in the parliament without decorum. I see not a post from them, but I see the same hypocrites running about now behaving as though they are God sent. But God hates hypocrites. God likes people who tells the truth. So I spoke the truth. End of story. Really could care less how people feel.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're speaking with the Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly, the Honorable Fali Chavez Augustine. We're talking all things autonomy here for the island of Tobago. Of course, you know what took place on Monday, and we have to go for a short break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about what was actually presented as amendments to the bill, and of course, where do we go from here? The Chief Secretary himself said that the fight cannot end. How do we continue this fight is the question that we will ask when we come back from the break. In the meantime, help us to share the live, share the live, share the live. We'll be right back.
Unwrap
Unlock the magic of Christmas and have the best Christmas ever with a Christmas Wishes loan from Bethel Credit Union.
Up to $20,000 can be yours, so you can take care of all those Christmas expenses. You could even pay off all your debts and your credit card.
Come on down to where we make wishes come through, because we see you
at BCU.
Visit any of our offices today at 31 Bethlehem Road, Bethel, Tobago, or Mount Mary Lower, Scarborough, Tobago.
You can contact us at 639-8226-660-7358 or 631-1336.
Normal lending criteria apply. Think, plan, save with Bethel Credit Union. Because we see you at BCU. We see you at BCU. Come on down, get a loan or two, cause we see you this Christmas at BCU.
Want to get better? Where to start? What kind of exercise to do? What to eat? How to get restful sleep? Need a doctor to search for root cause? Look no further. Come to Majuba Hill Lifestyle Center Foundation at our Wellness Center in Goodwood, or Food Hub in Darrow Springs, Scarborough, or Doctor's Office in Goodwood and Darrow Springs. Contact 49SWIFT 4979438.
It's the season of unforgettable, magical moments together. A song that reminds us of how our love blossomed. The warm, comforting smell of Christmas Day that brings us together. That feeling of comfort when our loved ones see the magic happening before their eyes. This Christmas, believe in magic, only at Standard.
Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place. Good morning, good morning, morning, good morning, morning.
Good morning, and welcome back to the morning show here on Tobago Updates. I am joined by my co-host Adana Kumbi, and we have the privilege of sitting in studio this morning and discussing that Tobago Autonomy Bill, where we are now and where we're going. What's the next steps for Tobago? And we are sitting and chatting with the Honorable Chief Secretary Farley Chavez Augustine. Now, this is our momentous time in Tobago, regardless of the fact that the bill was not passed, because it's a time where unity is important. It's a time where Tobagonians need to stand and allow their voices to be heard, and also echo the sentiments that although it was not passed, this is not the end of the conversation. As a matter of fact, this is the beginning of the conversation for where we want to go, because as many persons have said, we are not going to sit by and allow our children and our children's children to still be having the autonomy conversation. But Chief Secretary Augustine, you submitted an aid memoir on Monday morning. And within that aid memoir were a number of legal jargon that were hinted towards the recommended amendments for the bill. But at the end of the documents, you said something that seemed a bit counterproductive to the document itself. You said, do not proceed with the bill as is.
Right.
That was quite confusing. Right. And so I guess this is why the opposition would have, or the minority said that the document was used to obstruct.
Even minorities saying that means that they are functionally illiterate and they do not read, right? When you look at the document, on the last section of the document, you see Tobago Island Government Bill 2021. That's the section. So the only section we recommended not to proceed with was the Tobago Island Government Bill, for which the JC never consulted the people of Tobago. Therefore, what we propose should happen is that we make the changes to the Constitutional Amendment Bill and then set the Tobago House of Assembly and the people in motion for a period of about 9 months to actually consult and to actually set up our own structure of government in Tobago. Now remember, the Tobago Island Government Bill was intended to determine what the THA will look like, what the structure will look like. That is problematic. It's problematic because anytime something doesn't work there, we have to now go back to the parliament in Trinidad to get it fixed. So we were saying, and you're right, you have a lot of legal jargon because we brought lawyers in to do it. So instead of having to do that, we are saying, give Tobago its broad right to self-determination, which really means the people of the Tobago deciding for themselves how they want to be governed and what the structure will be, and allow the government in Tobago to build out the structure of the THA instead of trying to do it in the parliament. So the only portion that we asked not to proceed with was the Tobago Island Government Bill, but the Constitutional Amendment Bill, we made very important recommendations for amendments so that the people of Tobago ultimately could say, we set up our own government. We decide how we want it to function. We decide whether we feel to call with chief sec or premier. We decide whether we're going to keep 15 seats or that going to change or what structure that will be. Noted when we had the tie, the 6-6, there was no instrument on island in the government of the THA for us to fix it. None. What had to happen? It had to go to parliament after some months. Well, after a year almost for it to be fixed. The election was in January and it went to parliament and we had a re-election in December. Almost a whole year for it to be fixed. That will always happen, and it may not be a tie. It may be some other issue. Once the structure of the government is codified in law and passed at the Red House, it means the Red House is only where it can be changed. And that is actually counterproductive to the concept, to the idea of self-determination. Self-determination means we make the changes in the Constitution and then give the people of Tobago the right. Let the Tobago people go to the polls and vote and decide, I like how you plan to structure the government better than you, and I vote for you, and you set up the government as the house. And so over time, as the thing evolves, the Tobago Island government itself can evolve and keep changing the structure to meet modern demands without having to go back to Trinidad to get it. That is self-determination at work. Or anything other than that, it means that somebody determining for us how we ought to structure our government.
But Adana, this one, if the bill was passed, would it have triggered an immediate THA election? Because the chief is asking for 9 months to do consultation, but would it have triggered an immediate
not
election?
necessarily. And I hear some people saying that the courts have been consistent, the last being the case with local government, that said that the parliament cannot, for any reason, alter the terms or the period for which somebody was elected into office. When it happened to break the 6-6 deadlock, then the law of necessity kicked in because there was no other way to fix it. But remember when the government wanted, for example, to extend the period for local government, the Privy Council said, you don't have such a right. Only the people decides that. But I want to make it clear. If they gave us what we wanted, I was prepared to go to the House, the Tobago House of Assembly, and move a motion to ask, at the appropriate time, to ask that the House be dissolved for an election. I have no issue with doing that because that's the only way a THA election can be called. As a matter of fact, let me be clear. Unlike in the case of the Prime Minister and the central government, Tobago has sort of a fixed term limit. Not a fixed term, but a fixed election period. Meaning that I as Chief Secretary can't dissolve the House. No member could dissolve the House. The Parliament in Trinidad can't just dissolve the House. That can only happen by members going to the House and voting to dissolve the House. So had this passed, there was only one legal way to go back to the post for an election. That's the THA going to the House and dissolving itself. But I'm saying, if that was necessary, and if that would have been the best approach, I would have no problem saying to my team, let's go back to the polls. Let Tobagonians decide between PNM and TPP who have the better plan for structure of the government, and then we move from there. Because that's the right to self-determination. And certainly, I wouldn't want additional powers or new powers applied to this Tobago House of Assembly, where people voted expecting Act 40 of 1996. So I am very pro-democracy. And that's why I am irate at the very undemocratic approach by the central government to the Tobago Island government bill and saying, this is what we're giving you, take it or leave it.
And talking about that, had the bill for the amendments been passed, in the constitutional amendment bill passed with what they presented, what would have been our position? Because I know there were recommendations from the Tobago House of Assembly that must be included, including the 4 non-negotiables you mentioned about the previous Chief Secretary of London submitted as well. What the amendments presented did not include those things. Let's say, for instance, it passed. Well, what would have been our position here?
If it had passed, it means that the next incarnation of the Tobago House of Assembly would have to operate under that which was passed. It will mean that there might be some areas for which we have some authority under Act 40 of 1996 that will no longer exist in the new Tobago House of Assembly, new Tobago Island government.
So does it mean that we would not have been in a better place, or how does it rank? I want the people to understand where we would have...
No, we would not have been in a better place. As a matter of fact, one of the things, and I think we should go back and look at it, because Hodge Charles has been consistent in saying, if we're not going to do it right, leave Act 40 of 1996 as it is. He has been consistent in saying that. Because what you don't want is to interfere with it and bring something that is less than. Less than cannot be acceptable. And I'll give you an example of how interfering with it cavalierly or carelessly could lead to problems. When we had 12 seats, the quorum for the House was 9. 9 members must be present for you to have a quorum for sitting. The number of seats were changed to 15, but the quorum was not changed. Because nobody cared to pay attention, and part of the problem is that a significant portion of the national community does not care to really understand and appreciate and know Act 40 of 1996, including members of parliament at the central government, on both sides, on all sides. And I want to be very clear, loudly clear, in saying that this is not just a problem that Tobago is having with the PNM. It's a problem Tobago had with the UNC when they were in charge as well. So it has almost been consistent that the central government just doesn't want to give the people of Tobago this right to self-determination.
How would having Tobago-centric or Tobago-focused as opposed to politically minded individuals in the parliament representing Tobago East and West change the conversation or continue the conversation?
I'm glad you asked that, and I had to leave just now because I had to open the People Logos boat, which in the port. But let me explain the historical antecedent to where we're at. 1977, Tobago rejected PNM and voted for 2 standalone candidates in Robinson and Murray. They were backbenchers in a parliament for which they were in the complete minority. They weren't even members of the opposition party in Port of Spain. That is what gave us Act 37 of 1980. 1996, Tobago again voted for 2 people who were minority in the entire parliament, Robinson and Pamela Nicholson, in the 17-17-2. That's how we got Act 40 of 1996. And I said to my party up to yesterday, because we had a massive internal meeting yesterday, and I said to them, as I have been saying to them, I really don't care for us sending people to be in cabinet, because when things in cabinet, they don't really function. The cabinet I accustomed to is the one that my granny have, and I couldn't even use the teacup inside it. I just had to look at it. They look pretty in a cabinet, had no real use. You have to just watch it I'm not interested in sending people to Trinidad to be in a cabinet. I'm interested in sending people to Trinidad who will be standalone members of parliament, as Robinson and Murray were, and who will advocate for Tobago, and who will leverage Tobago's 2 seats for negotiation. Imagine for a moment if our 2 members of parliament decide that they will stand alone and stand with Tobago on this issue, and not stand with their party unless their party give Tobago what Tobago wants. It will mean that the government will have to negotiate and say, look, I got to get this because I need to vote for us to pass some things. Because it will be in 1922. Tobago's power is in standing alone. And that's why I'm not interested in joining up with nobody. I'm interested. I think Patrick Manning once said it, I'll win alone and I'll lose alone. Right? But I think Tobago always wins when we stand alone.
Of course, I know we're pressed for time now, you have to run off, but in closing, we are here. Where do we go from here in terms of how do we continue this conversation, this fight? How do we continue to empower our people here on the island of Tobago in terms of consultations, conversations, aggressively pursuing the autonomy for Tobago and ensuring that in your lifetime, as you mentioned, that we will see the autonomy that we're looking for on the island of Tobago, especially be the captain of the ship right now in the Tobago House of Assembly, moving this conversation forward.
My task and Tobago's task for the next step is electing 2 sensible people to go down to the national parliament. The thing now starting. Our task is to make sure we get rid of that party that doesn't care for the way we think and feel and believe in Tobago, who doesn't care about the cultural differences in Tobago. And let me be clear, Tobago is not culturally like Trinidad. I don't care for the race politics in Trinidad. I don't care for the tribal politics in Trinidad. Let them do what they want with each other down there. That's not my business at all. But you see, in Tobago here, with our 2 seats, is the only 2 we have in a parliament of 41. Those 2 seats are critical in moving us to the next step. Those two seats are critical in pushing the government, whoever the next government will be, to pass something that is greater and better than at 40 of 1996. And even if we send 2 down there and there isn't a constitutional majority supporting what we propose, we certainly can pass a Tobago Island government bill that gives us superior leverage to what we have in Act 40 of 1996. And I want to say this by way of example. In 2012, we were told to reject Kamla's bill. I agreed. And I want Tobagonians to understand. Read between the lines. I agreed that those bills, Kamla bill did not fully reflect what Tobagonians wanted. Kamla was offering us 8% in that bill. Today, the same people who convinced us to reject that, telling us 6.9 is best for you. That's good enough for you. And then they expect us to sit down and clap and say, yeah, you really love we so. That is nothing more than a very abusive mate who like to just dangle little trinkets, cheap trinkets that you buy in a flea market and hope that will buy our love for the set of beating and flogging that you give us. A general election will come and Tobagonians will have the chance to flog their slave masters. Tobagonians will have the chance to reawaken that spirit of Sandy and to deal with the neo-colonial slave masters in Port of Spain who want to control how Tobago is governed, who governs Tobago, and how the economy of Tobago should grow and how fast it should go. Tobago will have its chance. And I'm certain I will have a whole lot more opportunity to talk to Tobagonians because, trust me, I was very peaceful until now. But the Bible says for everything there is a season under the sun. And one of the things the Bible says that there must be a season for is that there must be a season for war. Thank you very much for accommodating me this morning.
Thank you very much, Chief Secretary of the Tobago House of Assembly, the Honorable Farley Chavez Augustine, for coming into studio this morning and, of course, going through the paces in terms of where we are about the Tobago Autonomy. Of course, you know that the bills were presented on Monday in the Parliament, and this is where we are right now. The final question posed to the Chief Secretary is, where do we go from here? How do we continue the conversation? How do we continue the fight? And how do we ensure autonomy for Tobago? And his response being ensuring we have two capable candidates for the Tobago East and West seats for the general elections. And we do hope, of course, that the conversation will continue. And I want to implore all of Tobago, Chanel, any person residing in Tobago, you have any business in Tobago, interest in Tobago, your family members are from Tobago, get an understanding of what it truly means to have autonomy for the island of Tobago. Get an understanding as to what it means for us, the benefits that can be derived from it, the rights that we will have in terms of lawmaking and all the other things, benefits that come with the autonomy. Get acquainted with it. In fact, read the bills that are there now, read the amendments, read everything that you can read on the autonomy for Tobago, and be a part of the conversation. Whatever happens at the end of the day impacts my life, it impacts your life, and generations to come. So we all want to be a part of that conversation. Let us not let it die here today. This is not the end. We've been fighting for this since the 70s, and we're going to continue the fight up until we get what we are looking for here on the island of Tobago to define who we are as Tobago people. This is where we end the morning show here on Tobago Updates Television, and we thank you so much for staying with us throughout the entire program and leaving your comments on our live stream. We saw all of them and we appreciate your input, and we will continue the conversation as we get to where we want to be for autonomy for Tobago. I am Adana Kambi, and with me is Chanel Felix, and again we say thank you to the Honorable Chief Secretary Farley Chavez Augustine. This is where we end. Do have a pleasant day.
Sentida alegre canto. Me voy a la Trovador, pam, pam, a descargar la careta, pam, pam. Me voy a la Trovador, pam, pam, a descargar la careta, pam, pam, para llegar a la meta, pam, pam. Yo pipo un salamo. A caballo vamos pa'l monte, a caballo vamos pa'l monte, a caballo vamos pa'l monte, a caballo vamos pa'l monte.
It was marvelous to see the inmates returning to their cells in the night and discussing what they would have done throughout the afternoons when this program would have taken place. We are proud. We have the belief that this would help us in the reintegration program, where the inmates will return into society and be an asset to Tobago, producing positive, successful labor.
I always really liked the look of cakes and I'm into baking, so I just really wanted to be able to do it on my own. I have a lot of nephews and nieces, so just wanted to be able to do stuff for them.
I always had a passion for barbering. You know, I could have cut hair. My father taught me how to do it from a long time, and I had stopped a little while. So I decided, you know, let me just pick up back this thing and, you know, learn whatever I might learn before I've learned a new skill, enhanced my knowledge that I already have. So I heard they're giving a certificate, so I said, okay, let me get a certificate as well.
I see this growing. It could only get better. Persons now just have to focus and not only try to do all the courses, but zero in on something that you can specialize in, and you can become a great entrepreneur. But I think it's great. These things you normally pay for, right? And as I say, skills is where we have to go. Skills is where the world is going. That's where you'll make your money.
I feel that they should continue doing these things because it really helps young people, the youth of our community, to really push themselves forward and get into what they want and what they need. It really just helps us to grow and develop as a society, and it is just very helpful on a whole.
The vocational skills training and handicraft programs are living examples of our division's commitment to empowering lives and transforming communities. These programs, rooted in decades of perseverance and growth, are more than training sessions. They are incubators of creativity, resilience, and self-sufficiency.
Yo pipo un salamo, a caballo vamos pa'l monte, a
That was a production of the Department of Information, Office of the Chief Secretary, Tobago House of Assembly.
I love Tobago because it has beautiful flora and fauna, biodiversity, beautiful scenery, beautiful villages and cultures.
Because the people are nice. My name is Zuma Chapman.
My name is Zaid Uwe. My name is Rebecca Week.
My name is Mohammed Udin.
Kiara Stewart.
Kaylee Burnett.
Jolie St. John.
Ochi Emmanuel.
Jill Young. Johanna Brown.
Sarah Judah Spinney.
I love Tobago.
And I love Tobago.
What I love about Tobago,
I love Tobago because of its tradition,
because of the culture, the people, the history, the island itself.
I love Tobago for its beautiful beaches,
the beaches.
The beaches.
I love Tobago because of the hospitality of the people. Wherever you go on the island, someone's going to be there to greet you with a smile. They're going to assist you. They're so friendly, so helpful.
It's local food,
Great food.
The variety of local foods.
it's delicious foods and activities that it has, the boat and crab racing.
And I truly love Tobago because of its diverse culture and the immense amount of activities one can do when they come to Tobago, such as carnival, going to the beaches, and heritage.
And also the Blue Food Festival.
What it holds, all down to the very provision and food. It is just amazing. And I love the fact that I was born on this island.
Crab and dumpling, and my favorite one of all, crab and callaloo.
Because of its smooth texture on the dumpling and the sweet spicy taste on the crab.
Overall, it's really tropical. It's a nice place, and for somebody who loves beaches like me, I love to go to the beach within 2 minutes away from home. Whereas Trinidad, it's, it's so far to go to the beach.
Our culture, our hospitality, our heritage, I think that we are one of the most friendliest types of people that you can meet. Someone is always there to greet you with a smile, or a plate of food for like harvest and everything. So I think it's just that, and I really love this great little island.
It's a really fun place where you will enjoy your stay.
Tobago is known for being multicultural.
Although we are a geographically small destination, we leave such a large impact on the world because we harness so much talent and have such a diverse culture. The people that we produce on the island leave traces of Tobago wherever they go.
Happy Tobago Day!
Tobago updates. Good morning, Tobago. Morning, rise up to a brand new dawning as the passion start to rise. The energy fill the skies. I say thanks for favor to wake up and hear me neighbor. 60,000 people strong, and the vibes is never wrong.
Good morning, Tobago. Yes, good morning, Tobago. It's your short, limited series of GMT this morning. I am your host, Natalia Nancis, and I am joined with two very special guests here this morning who have a lot of information to share. You might have been seeing some of the advertisements a little before GMT, and we'll get straight into that. But right before we get into it, let's have our news in 90 seconds. So Wednesday, December 11th, 2024. After years of closure due to missing and damaged equipment, the Shaw Park packing house has reopened, thanks to TADCO staff who cleaned and repainted the facility. Chairman Ricardo Alfred highlighted past budget constraints, but this year's focus allowed the reopening. The facility now supports agro-processors with specialized equipment, quality control and processing services, offering tools like crinkle cut, fry machines and multifunctional cutters. Ronaldo John, entrepreneur and owner of Rashad's Men's Store and The Healing Garden, has added author to his achievements with the launch of his new book, Bagel Boy, at the Scarborough Library. The book shares the inspiring journey of a young Tobagonian's entrepreneurial success and aims to promote Tobago's culture and entrepreneurial spirit as a key tourism product.
As part of the launch, John introduced the Tobago Youth Foundation, dedicated to empowering young minds. Proceeds from the book will support the foundation, and John expressed gratitude to Tobagonians for their support in making the book a success. Members of the People's National Movement have condemned Chief Secretary Fali Augustine for a recent statement seemingly toward Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley. Following the failure of the Tobago Autonomy bills in Parliament on Monday, Augustine took to his Facebook page stating, "Nothing is worse than when your relative who is at the seat of power is nothing but a house slave that ignores the real dreams and aspirations of those he left behind in the field in Tobago. Hashtag house slave mentality, hashtag wicked PM." PNM Senator Lawrence Hislop, Minority Leader Kelvin Morris, Minority Councillor Petal Ann Benoit, and National Security Minister Fitzgerald Hines are among those who have labelled the statement disrespectful. The Prime Minister has not commented on this matter. And that was your news in 90 seconds. All right, so we're on to that interesting piece of information that I promised you this morning. This morning, we are joined with Dr. Rita Pemberton. She is the chairman for the cabinet-appointed committee for statues, monuments, and signage. She is a renowned author, historian, author, lecturer, former head of the Department of History at the UWI St. Augustine campus, former chairman of COSTAT. So we have a lot of accolades there, right? So good morning to Dr. Pemberton.
Good morning to you too. And good morning, Tobago.
Good morning, Dr. Pemberton. And of course, you see a smiling face right next to her. We are joined with also a committee member, Lawrence Arjun. Good morning to you, Mr. Arjun.
Good morning, Tobago.
All right, so we are here to discuss that big topic I would have mentioned this morning. It has been advertised a few times this morning. So we are going to discuss a little bit about the public consultation you all are about to have this afternoon from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Scarborough Library, the AV room, right? So for those of you viewing, here is the information that you would need to attend such event. It's promised to be very informational towards them and towards the public themselves as well, right? So we are here with you both. Now, the first question before we get into the nitty-gritty of the entire conversation itself is to just point out some of the responsibilities that your committee has. So what are some of the responsibilities of this cabinet-appointed committee?
We have been charged with responsibility for reviewing the placement of statues, monuments, signage in public spaces in Trinidad and Tobago.
All right. And who are the members that make up the committee?
The committee is made up of, well, I'm the chair. Mr. Arjun is a member. Dr. Oh Lord, I always go by calling her Dr. Eastland Mackenzie. I was going to call her what we call all the time. Sorry. Right? Then we have Miss Zaida Ramnath, retired permanent secretary, chief permanent secretary for the country. We have Mr. Kobe Sandy, he's a youth officer in the Ministry of Youth. We also have Chief Ricardo Barrett from the Santa Rosa Peoples. And we have Miss Annalene Innes, who is the Deputy Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Local Government. And what's the rest of the title? Ministry of Local Government, right? We left out somebody.
No, that's the committee.
That's the committee?
Yes.
That is the committee. She got it and she didn't even know.
We've had so many people helping us on this project.
Oh, I know it's what. Because I was thinking of the research assistants, the research support staff that we have, works closely with us.
And she proves to be a functioning chairman because, I mean, she remembers all names on the committee. And as you said, they've been a very great help toward the aims that you all have put forward. Yes? So this committee was established in 2022. I stand to be corrected if I have to be. Yes, I read up a few things. Yes, yes. So in 2022, you've been established, and now you are visiting Tobago to have a public consultation. So what exactly is the aim of this public consultation to be had this afternoon?
Sure. So the whole purpose for the work of the committee is to get the views of the people of Trinidad and Tobago in what do we as a people want to see represented when it comes to statues, when it comes to monuments, when it comes to signs. What is the criteria we want for that? Who do we think should be recognized? How should it be done? Who should be involved in the process? What we want is representative views, so that when we present a policy, it reflects as widely and as much as possible what the people want to see. So we started in 2002. We would have met with over 50 different stakeholder groups across Trinidad and across Tobago. These have been in-depth discussions with them, with people who are doing the work on the ground, people who have been making recommendations over the years for statues, for monuments, for signs, people who currently manage the placement of signs and the processes, to understand what processes are in place, to really get the views of the work that has been done. But of course, part of that is including the wider public as well, and including the views that the wider public has. So we would have had a public consultation in Trinidad. Now we have the public consultation in Tobago. And we also have opportunities for people to provide written feedback, written submissions on the process. There's an online form that is available that people can go and fill in, or they can drop off or mail in hard copies. In Tobago, we're collecting hard copies at the Division of Tourism, Antiquities, Culture and Transportation, their office. And we have an email address as well that people can send in their written submissions to.
So this process that you all are doing is to collect information on what you all on making a policy, and not necessarily to invoke a policy that has already been made. So it's something collaborative between both islands, and you all are planning to make. All right. Now I'm understanding where we are going here. What are some of the topics that you all will be discussing this afternoon?
Sure. So firstly, what do people think should be in the policy? What are some of the areas that people think should be considered in such a policy when it comes to statues, monuments, signage? What should be the criteria for erecting statues, signage, and monuments? Are there statue, signage, and monuments that people think should be replaced, should be removed, and what should be done with them? And, are there suggestions and recommendations for new statues, for new signs, for new monuments?
Okay. What is the process like? So it's been established since 2022, so I'm guessing that you all have been actively doing the work within the committee. What is the process like in terms of, let's say I go to a street and the street's name is Bamboo Patch for whatever reason, right? And I don't think that should be the name of the street, and I have a suggestion as to what we should name the street. What's the process like in changing that name, or what is the process like in bringing a suggestion to the name of a street?
We could only do a suggestion from you.
Right.
We are not responsible for changing. What we do is to make a recommendation based on the information that has been fed to us. So we can say that 14 people object to Bamboo Street, or object to the way the name was arrived at, right? And if you don't know how the name was arrived at, and that's what you want to know. But we can't give you that information. We can only solicit from members of the public what their views are about selecting names for streets, and for recognition of people as iconic figures whose names should be put on streets or public buildings. We could only ask, and we could only record what people have told us. So we can't guarantee anyone that the name would be changed, but what we can do is to suggest in our recommendations that A, B, C, D, E, as raised by people, be considered in determining street names.
Right. And I want to just throw in there, what I'm seeing is that historians such as yourself, if they are present in Tobago, they should come out for this consultation. Because, I mean, if it is that we need to look at the history and why we should name a street, or what policies we think should be put in place to be naming streets. Historians, those who know the backstory of whatever, they should be there present as well. So I'm guessing that those are the people that you all are looking for this afternoon.
We are looking for everyone.
All right.
Exactly.
So everyone is invited to this event for 5 o'clock at the Scarborough Library's AV room. Okay. Why should the public take a personal interest in this? I mean, yes, some might start, Natalia, that is an obvious answer, it's an island, but why should the public really take a personal interest in the session this afternoon?
Because people have been complaining, people have been protesting, people have been objecting to certain figures, and that has stimulated a need to review the whole process. There have been letters, strong letters, there have been threats to go to court and all, so that this is an avenue for people to give expression to their objections, desires even, and we could then record those and put those as part of, not as part of, but in the formulation of our recommendations.
Okay.
And to take it from a different perspective as well inside it too, it is a chance for the people of Trinidad and Tobago to take greater ownership in shaping the national identity, in creating the spaces that we want to see, in shaping how we represent things, how we tell ourselves to the world, how we showcase ourselves to the world. Street signs are important. Street signs are probably the most common things in a space that people reference.
Right.
So who do you want to see recognized through street signs, or what do you want to see recognized through street signs? Statues and monuments are how we recognize and celebrate people and celebrate who we are as, not just as a country, but as spaces, as communities within that country. So what do we want to see in the different communities? Because different communities are all unique. Across Trinidad, across Tobago, varied uniqueness in all of the different spaces. So what do the people in these spaces want to see when it comes to these things? And how should we go about doing it? Coming back to your previous question about the process. So we're looking at a policy, we're looking at the guidelines of what we want to see. The process is managed differently across the different spaces. In Trinidad, the Ministry of Rural Development and Local Government, the municipal corporations are the ones who manage the process. In Tobago, it is the THA. For signs, it's through the Division of Infrastructure. So the processes happen differently in different spaces, as we've been seeing. And what we want is for the people, just like yourself, just like everybody looking at, to say, well, when it comes to our space, when it comes to Tobago, when it comes to Princestown, when it comes to Mayaro, when it comes to Rio Claro, when it comes to the country, this is what we want to see, because we believe it should be this way.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm seeing that we should be invested because this is our space.
It is.
It is our space. So how old do these signs have to be where I could put in a complaint? Because I remember social media was a buzz, and I think you know where I'm going with this. There were a buzz on a certain emblem and a certain sailor of the seas back then, right? On certain...
You're a diplomat.
Yes, on certain factors that were on certain emblems that we do own. So how does one now go ahead in filing that complaint, and how is something big like that fixed? Because we do have significant monuments everywhere on both islands.
Yeah, but it fits.
Yes.
It fits because the public does not always agree with, accept. And so we want public participation, public recognition of the importance of street signs. And if you take a quick survey around, and people don't even know. Some people don't know why the signs are there. They don't know where the signs are. They pay no attention. And other people are very strong on with their sentiments about particular ones. And therefore, we want to encourage people to let them know that they have a role. I mean, they're not just there to vote, every 5 years or whatever. They are there to take active part in all the processes that constitute who we are.
Okay. All right. So we recently renamed our roundabouts. So I'm assuming that if any member of the public is not happy with those names, they can contest it this afternoon, or they can bring, their complaints or file their complaints with the committee.
They can record their views.
Yeah, so a few things so what is going to come out from the work of the committee? One, a policy recommendation on how we should go about what should be considered with the placement of statues, signs, and monuments. That is primary. We'll do a report identifying all of our findings, and what we really want to include inside that report is the views of people when it comes to certain statues, signs, and monuments. So what do they think should be removed? So everything that is recommended to be removed and the justifications for it, we'll document that. Everything that is recommended to be established, we'll document that so that it's presented in a comprehensive way that allows a reference point for decisions going forward. And then we're also going to be including in that report connections to other things that are showing up in the consultation, because like you rightly said, there's so many things around us that are connected to statues, signs, and monuments. They may not directly be statues, signs, and monuments, but it connects to it and it feeds into it, and we're seeing that showing up quite a bit. Things like education, things like understanding our history, things like communication around things like using technology, and how do we connect our representations of statues, signs, monuments in the digital spaces. How do we showcase ourselves through these things to the world? How do we attract people to our shores through these things? How do we celebrate ourselves? So there are a few different things that are going to come out from this. We aren't going to be the entity that is changing anything. We will be the entity that is collecting all of the views and opinions and the rationales and the beliefs of the people and presenting it in a clear, comprehensive way for the decision makers.
Okay. So should I want to know the process, as you mentioned, that the public should know, me and Natalia wanting to know the process of naming my street Natalia Street. What time do I get ready to come to this event? And where should I come and position myself to be in this event this afternoon?
5 o'clock.
Yes.
Up to 7 o'clock. 2 hours of talk. In Scarborough Library. AV room.
Yes.
And we listen to everybody. We are all ears. So you're going
to listen to everything that I have to say?
Everything that you have to say, all your sentiments are very welcome. That will be part of our process. We would handle the processing, but we are not changing anything. We are making recommendations for a policy.
And should I need any additional information on the criteria being presented at this afternoon's event, where can I find more information?
Sure. So, in addition to the consultation, there will be a live stream. The live stream will be on Tobago Channel 5. Is that what our live stream is? On Tobago Channel 5, our live stream. So on the social media pages. The question was more information about
the criteria being presented.
Sure.
Yes.
So the committee's Facebook page, Committee to Review the Placement of Statues, Signs, and Monuments, has the information up about the points that we're looking at discussing in today's session. There's also the email address where people can request more information or submit things. So if you have a document put together for Natalia Street already with your 20-page justification that you've been working with Natalia, send it to us at committeeonmonuments@gov.tt. And via the Facebook page, there are links to an online form. So it's very simple for people to go and just upload their information, because people have been doing a lot of work of it. We have received over 200 written submissions right now. We have received thousands of pages of research and justifications and recommendations on this topic, because it's clear that people are passionate about it and people want to see ourselves. They want to see the people who've shaped their histories. They want to see the people who represent them. They want to see the values and the ideals and what we see of ourselves as our best and what we want to present for the future generations in our spaces. So submit all of those things to us, come to the consultation, join in online, and have your say in what our spaces should look like.
Yeah, and we see that there is a strong interest in participating, and that's what we like. We want more voices to make
because that's the way how, you know, Tobago would have a voice in the entire policy making itself. We have to speak out. We have to come and we have to share views. We have to share wants or needs. And those things will be addressed this afternoon. As you said, everything will be answered. Yes. Right.
Well, we aren't providing the answers. We're giving
we are recording
a chance
to say
what they want.
Okay. All right. Members of the public, for all of our viewers who stayed with us to see GMT this morning, you are all invited to the public consultation on the review of the placement, statutes, monuments, and signages in Trinidad and Tobago this afternoon from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. at the Scarborough Library's AV room. Please get prepared and walk with your documents if you have any, right? Thank you so much, Dr. Pemberton and Mr. Arjun, for joining us this morning here on Good Morning Tobago. Members of the public and to our viewers here on Facebook, YouTube, and 102 Amplia, we are heading right over. We are switching some gears. I know you saw a ship in our harbor this morning, and we're going to go and we are looking forward to the opening of that, and we have it live here from Tobago Updates. So stay tuned, and I encourage you all to share the live, share the live, share the live.
Strong.